particular unique circumstance, and even happier, at least in this neck of the woods, Governor, even happier to have our hometown gal, Baker-Polito, as his right hand. Oh, and I'm sorry, First Lady Lauren Baker is here as well. You're on my list, I forgot to acknowledge you, sorry. We are truly lucky tonight to have these three unique blessings here, and just, again, very honored to represent them. Couldn't do it without your help. They couldn't do it without your help. Without any further ado, I will give you the nation's most popular governor, Charlie Baker.
So I'm half tempted to see if I can speak without the mic. Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Your wife said use
No, the reason you don't use the mic is because people have to listen to you. So let me just say a couple things. First of all, many thanks, Mike, to you for co-chairing our finance team, for both Karen and for me. You have been a total class act and a truly great guy and a huge supporter all the way through. And frankly, you know, it's a cliche, but we couldn't be where we are without you. So thank you very much. Thank you. Karen and I would love to thank, and I think we had a chance to say hello to most of the members of the host committee and the co-chairs. But the one thing I also want to say to all of you is those are a lot of familiar names, and a lot of familiar people, and a lot of familiar faces. Again, people who've been supporters of Karen's and mine dating back all the way to 2010. And in Karen's case, way before that, during her time, probably shouldn't say way before that. A couple of years maybe before that, during her time in the legislature. And it's always great to be in Worcester County, first of all, because the people here are so terrific. And you got old friends of mine like Dave Forsberg, who was my first boss in the Weld administration, and the guy I learned everything that really mattered from, and a whole bunch of other people in public life who are doing terrific work on behalf of the people, both of this region and the Commonwealth generally. And I said this last night at an event for Paul Frost. 10 years ago, Worcester County was just like the rest of Massachusetts, which meant it was basically all Democrat. And over the course of the past decade, through the hard work and the dedication and the imagination and the aspiration of a lot of people in this room, that's just not the case anymore. I mean, if anything, Worcester's a little purple, and in certain days, it's downright red. And that's a real tribute to a lot of the folks who are here, the candidates who are here, the volunteers who are here, the folks who wrote checks to support these people when no one thought they could win. And that culminated for me at an event I went to that the sheriff had last year. Where I was there, I was sitting next to Jim McGovern, the congressman, Democrat from this area, and he and I were talking to all of the electeds, all of whom were Republicans. And I turned to him at one point and I said, "Wow, Jim, you're the only Democrat elected official that's here." And he said, "I know, it's really weird." And I said, "Welcome to my world." But that happened because of the work of people like you. And it's a good thing. Competition in politics is just like competition in every place else. If you play the game the right way, you get a better product. And I think if you talk to almost anybody, Democrat or Republican, who's independent, who day in and day out spends time watching and studying and participating in political and public life here in Massachusetts, at the state level or at the local level, I guarantee you that a huge proportion of those people will say that they are very pleased with the way state government is operating these days. I hear it all the time. I know Karen hears it all the time. And many of the people who work in our administration hear it all the time. And by the way, Matt Beaton, Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs, who also got a little bit of a buzz cut. Matt, of course, will be fully grown back in by Friday. The joys of youth. But I'm telling you, Karen and I travel a lot. I don't travel as much as Karen does. She's probably been to, have you been to 200 communities? At least 40. But we get out, and we get in front of people, and we hear what's on their minds, and we take the good with the bad. And I'll give you 2 examples of this. I met last week in Braintree with 36 mayors, okay? There are 2 Republicans, 1 independent, and 33 Democrats. And I had a 40-minute speech prepared. I was gonna be there for an hour, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna talk for 5 minutes about a couple things that are important to me, and then let's spend the rest of the time with you telling me what's important to you, and where you think we need to get better and what we need to work on. So I gave my 5-minute speech, and then we had a back and forth for the rest of the time I was there. And while there were things people wanted us to work on, and Karen and I talked about those afterwards, the vast majority of the debate and the conversation was, here are the things we think you guys are doing really well that we really appreciate. And over and over and over again, it sort of came down to, you put quality people who know what they're doing in the jobs that you gave them. They're people who actually know how to move the wheels in the big rig of government to get stuff done. They're open-minded, they're accountable, they're available, they call you back, they don't BS you, and they actually tell you what they think they can do and how fast they can get it done. And if they can't, they tell you that too. And one of the mayors literally looked at me and he said, look, a hard no is a heck of a lot better than 3 years worth of maybe. And I think in some respects, that's really important to me. And I know it's important to Karen. We want to be an administration that people believe is decent and available and open to conversation and discussion. And in this day and age in politics, where so much of the noise is so aggressive and frankly so depressing, it's really important to us that the dialogue that we're having with the people we're talking to is done with respect and a commitment to try and see if we can't move communities and the Commonwealth forward. The second thing I just wanted to mention, we met with a group early on, a group of legislators. I almost tried to flip my hair. That habit will die pretty hard over the course of the next couple of days. We were meeting with a group of legislators, a big group, and one of them who's been in the legislature for a long time, this is fairly early on in the administration, he said to me, you know, it's been a really long time since I've been allowed to meet with anybody in anybody's administration without somebody from the governor's office there to sort of monitor the conversation and frame the answers to the kinds of questions I might want to ask. It'd sure be nice if, since I've been in this business for most of my adult life, if I call up a commissioner or a secretary to ask them a question, it'd sure be nice if I didn't have to have somebody there to actually determine what the answer will be before it gets delivered. And I said, okay, so no hall monitors, that's what you're telling me. You just want to be able to sort of do the work, do your business, and all the rest. He said, yeah, no hall monitors. I said, fine. So I saw him about 2 weeks ago at an event, and I said, how we doing? And he said, no hall monitors. He said, I never would have believed it. This is the easiest. He said, I'm a Democrat. I'm a big-time Democrat. I would never vote for a guy like you. And then he paused and he said, but this is by far the best administration I've ever worked with in my 20 years in being. I'm not going to get too much into some of the issues we've been dealing with because you folks are pretty close to this and you've been paying attention. You know we spent a tremendous amount of time on the opioid issue here in the Commonwealth. And we've had a series, I think, of pretty good successes there with the legislature and with some of our administrative initiatives. But I view this as kind of setting the table for the work that has to be done going forward. Now we need to follow through and execute, and we need to do something about bending the trend. A 20% growth in prescriptions, overdoses, and deaths every year in the Commonwealth for the past 10 years, up around the Commonwealth, and there's probably 30 of them now. And they're basically chairs in a circle, moms and dads, talking to each other about what it's like to go through the hell of dealing with addiction for a child. And I was actually in New Bedford at South Coast Hospital in a meeting with a group of business leaders down there a couple weeks ago. And as I was coming out of the meeting, it was a big conference room, the kind of room where you would probably have a Learn to Cope meeting in. And as I was coming out of this conference room, there was a whole ton of moms and dads just standing there waiting to come in and use the room. And I looked at them, And I've seen these people before, okay? I mean, I've just seen them. And I looked at them and I said, are you guys from Learn to Cope? And they said, yeah, how'd you know? And I said, because I've seen your faces. I've seen your faces ever since I started running for governor, the first time. And I've heard your stories. You broke my heart over and over and over again. I said, come here, we need a group hug. So we did a big group hug, and then I talked to them about the bill and the legislation and what we're doing. And one of the mothers looked up at me and she said, you know, this is the first time I've had hope. I sense that the Commonwealth is serious about this, and you're going to charge hard at it, and you're not going to give up, and you're not going to quit. And I said, you can count on us on that one. And by the way, you can count on pretty much everybody at this point in this space. You can't put 20 people in a room in Massachusetts without finding someone who's been directly affected by this. This is not a them issue, it's an us issue. And it's very important that we keep thinking about it that way as we go down this road. And I know you know we spend a tremendous amount of time on building stronger communities. I mean, Karen has signed 159 community compacts with communities around the Commonwealth around best practices in municipal government. That is an extraordinary accomplishment when I just think about how hard it is to get that relationship between state government and local government on the right terms. And she's got 159 communities that have all signed up to work with us on one menu item or another across this long list of menus and opportunities. And we're spending a lot of time on economic development. And we currently have a bill pending before the legislature. It's about a $950 million collection of tools, all affordable, reality-based, that we believe can especially help us grow the economy outside Route 128. It's the kind of stuff that, having spent a lot of time talking to business leaders and local officials in Western Mass, the Merrimack Valley, and on the South Coast, it's exactly the kind of tools that they need. And in addition to that, there's $75 million in there for capital grants to vocational and technical schools to upgrade their equipment and invest in their operations, because people say to me all the time, you know, you talk a lot about vocational and technical education. I say, damn right I do, because there's a ton of great jobs available out in that space, and we're not talking about it enough, we're not investing in it, and we're missing an opportunity to create possibility and a future for a whole bunch of men and women here in Massachusetts. There are going to be tens of thousands, probably ultimately hundreds of thousands of jobs available in these spaces for people who have the skills to take advantage of this. And this is going to be a major, we are always going to be a tech state and a high-tech state and a biotech state and all the rest. We're always going to be that. But there are so many opportunities in so many other fields where we need to do a far better job of making the investments that are necessary to create the opportunities for our kids and the next generation of kids. And I couldn't be more excited about this stuff. And the one final point I want to make about that is I have been amazed at how many businesses, when I start talking about this, their eyes light up and they start clapping, because they know how many job opportunities are out there and how precious it is for them to find people who have these skills. And the other interesting thing about it, you can make a heck of a lot more than the governor of the Commonwealth of Mass. Now I have the great honor, the great pleasure of introducing my favorite state official from Worcester County. And that's no offense meant to all the other ones who are here. But this one happens to have an office just down the hall from mine, and she has been a total rock star to campaign with and to spend the last year and a half working with to build a great Commonwealth. And people say to me all the time, geez, Governor, you never seem to forget about Worcester. You're always talking about Worcester. You're always in Worcester County. And I always look at him and I say, have you ever met my Lieutenant Governor?